Did he have any regrets? That was the question someone threw at Benjamin during our engagement party. My mind raced. Maybe he'd mention our baby, the one we lost before they even had a chance. Or maybe he'd regret that I'd found out about his proposal plans early, ruining the surprise. I held my breath, waiting to hear what he really felt. Slipping away with a quick excuse about the restroom, I paused in the shadows of the doorway. I watched as he tossed back his drink in one go. And then he said it. My biggest regret is never marrying Maria. Maria. My stepsister. My own smile froze on my face. It was like a bucket of ice water doused my soul. The room went dead silent for a beat before erupting into a flurry of whispers, each one laced with mockery. Maria's been married for ages, and he's still hung up on her? So that's why he suddenly agreed to get married. Can't get the younger sister, so he's settling for the older one. Wow, talk about devotion. Benjamin said nothing, just kept knocking back drink after drink. But then, another whisper cut through the noise. I heard Maria's having a rough time overseas. Got divorced and just came back. Really? Benjamin's head snapped up, his voice sharp with an emotion I hadn't heard in years. He fumbled for his phone, his fingers flying to his social media app. The top post, pinned for all to see. She's really back. The joy in his voice was sickening, a bright, ugly thing he couldn't contain. He shot up from his seat and headed for the door. Someone behind him cheered. Go for it, man. You can finally be happy. His happiness. I could only sneer in the shadows. And what about me? What about our 7 years? He didn't even spare me a glance as he strode out, driving off in pursuit of his true happiness. There were no cabs this late. I started the long walk home, every step a fresh stab of pain from my ill-fitting shoes. The heels were his engagement gift. I loved them, even though they were a size too small. I forced my feet to endure them all day, but now? I was done enduring. Anything. I ripped them off, my ankles raw and bleeding. The autumn wind sliced through my thin dress, making me shiver. I remembered another autumn day, just like this one, when Benjamin had confessed to me. He had looked at me with eyes that seemed to hold the entire universe, brimming with what I thought was sincerity. He was the one who pulled me from the darkest pit of my life, the person I trusted above all others. I threw my lot in with him, helping him build his business from nothing. I even miscarried our child at 3 months for this life we were building. He held me then, his tears of guilt soaking my shoulder as he swore he'd cherish me for the rest of our lives. But I never, ever thought his biggest regret was not being with her. So what were our 7 years? A joke? Tears streamed down my face before I even realized I was crying. Why her? He knew what she and her mother did to us. In that moment, something inside me shattered. 7 years, gone. My fingers, shaking, found my phone. I scrolled to my aunt's number in London. Auntie, I choked out, I'm not getting married anymore. I'm coming to you. When I finally got home, I saw them. A pair of unfamiliar high heels, sitting right outside our bedroom door. Same style as mine. Same damn size. My key wouldn't turn in the lock. I fumbled with it for what felt like an eternity before the horrifying realization dawned on me: it was bolted from the inside. Benjamin finally opened the door, a sheepish look on his face. Sorry, Clara. Maria was scared, so I bolted it. And there she was. Maria, hiding behind him like a frightened doe, her eyes red-rimmed. Why is she here? The question tore from my lips, even though I already knew the answer. Benjamin stammered, Maria, she got a divorce. Her ex-husband was abusive. She barely escaped back into the country and she has nowhere else to go. He rushed on, desperate to defend her. She is a good girl, she said she didn't want to bother you this late and was going to a hotel, but I couldn't let her go alone, not in her state, so I insisted. Clara, don't overthink it, Maria whispered, her voice trembling. There's nothing going on. If I'm bothering you, I'll leave right now. Tears welled in her eyes as she made a show of turning to go. Benjamin shot out a hand to stop her, then rounded on me, his voice harsh. "Clara. I never knew you could be so cold. She's your sister, for God's sake." "Sister?" I could still feel the burn from the curling iron she depressed to my arm as a teenager. I could still see her and her mother laughing as they threw my own mother South things onto the street. I met his furious gaze, my own voice chillingly calm. "I don't have a sister. She is nothing but the daughter of a mistress." Chapter 2. At my words, Maria's face crumpled. She let out a sob and ran from the room as if I'd physically struck her. Benjamin shot after her, but not before spinning back to me, his face a mask of fury. "Clara," he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. "How can you be so heartless? You and your mother deserve to be abandoned by your father." His words were a dagger straight to my heart. The world went silent. He didn't come back all night. I sat alone in the living room, staring at the wedding invitation on the coffee table. The one I'd poured my heart into designing. Marrying Benjamin had been my dream for 7 years. 1 week until the wedding. My aunt had already booked my flight to London. It was for exactly 1 week from today. Just enough time to burn every bridge here to the ground. The next morning, they walked into the office together, hand in hand. He immediately gathered everyone. "Everyone, this is Maria," he announced, his hand possessively on her arm. "She'll be my new personal secretary. I expect you all to make her feel welcome." I had to physically swallow the bile that rose in my throat. Benjamin had always been so meticulous about his reputation, hiring only male assistants to avoid gossip. For Maria, he broke his own rule without a second thought. After the crowd dispersed, he cornered me. "I already apologized to Maria for you," he said, not even looking at me. "She just got divorced and has no income. I'm only helping her because she's your sister. Don't overthink it." A moment later, I overheard him on the phone, softly instructing the HR department to ensure Maria's workload was as light as possible. So considerate. Did he forget this company we built together? The all-nighters, the 2-person studio, the years we survived on instant noodles and pure grit? Later that day, Maria breezed into my office, carrying a tea set. "I brought you some tea, Clara," she said, her voice cloyingly sweet. And then I saw it. A flash of platinum on her ring finger. My breath caught in my throat. It was a perfect match to the one Benjamin was now wearing. Our wedding rings. I shot up from my chair, my voice a raw whisper. "Why are you wearing my ring?" Benjamin was in my office in a heartbeat, stepping between us, shielding Maria as if I were the monster. "I asked her to wear it," he said, his voice sharp and defensive. "Maria is so innocent. If people knew she was divorced, they might gossip or give her a hard time. This is just to protect her." "Are you going to be paranoid about this, too?" "Paranoid?" He had just announced to the entire company that she was under his personal protection. Who would dare bully her? I remembered begging him to try on the rings with me, just once. He refused, saying it would be more special to exchange them on our wedding day. But here he was, unable to wait to place our ring on her finger. It all clicked into place. His impatience when I suggested engraving our initials. "There's no need for that," he'd said. "I don't like wearing rings. It feels like my fingers are being restrained." So, a ring with my name on it was a restraint, but a matching one with her was a joy. Even knowing I was leaving, the pain was a physical thing, a knife scraping against my ribs. Benjamin must have seen the look on my face, because his tone softened into a placating, patronizing drone. "Look, if you don't like it, we can get a new style. I'll go with you next time. We can even get our initials engraved, okay? Would that make you happy?" Chapter 3. I took a slow, deliberate breath, about to tell him exactly where he could shove his ring. But Maria beat me to it. She ripped the ring from her finger and hurled it at Benjamin. "I won't wear it anymore," she shrieked, her performance worthy of an award. If I knew I'd be mistreated like this even after coming home, I might as well have let my ex-husband beat me to death. She bit her lip, fresh tears welling in her perfect, innocent eyes. Benjamin's gaze on me was glacial before he turned back to her, his voice melting into a soft coo. It's not like that, Maria. No one is looking down on you. I had no stomach for their pathetic little play. Later, a text from Benjamin buzzed on my phone. Going out of town for a couple of days. Get the wedding prep handled. We'll talk when I'm back. I deleted the message without a word. He was gone for 3 days, one more than he said. When he returned, he actually came to pick me up from work, a gesture so rare it was immediately suspicious. I reached for the passenger door, but stopped. Through the window, I could see a woman's coat Maria's style piled on the seat. As I hesitated, Benjamin scrambled, a panicked look on his face, shoving something into the crevice of the seat. But I'd already seen it. The unmistakable glint of a used condom wrapper. And beside it, a crumpled black stocking. A wave of nausea washed over me. Maria's my secretary, he said, his voice too fast. It's just easier for us to communicate when she's in the front. Without a word, I closed the passenger door and opened the one to the back seat, sliding in like a chauffeur's client. He watched me in the rearview mirror. You look tired, Clara. The wedding planning must be a lot. He paused, testing the waters. You know, why don't you let Maria take over your projects for a while? She just joined and her performance isn't great. People are starting to gossip. This would give her a chance to prove herself. He knew. He knew those projects were my blood, sweat, and tears. And he was handing them to her on a silver platter. Fine, I said, my voice flat. She can have them. It would be my parting gift. A slow, triumphant smile spread across his face. See? This is why I love you, Clara. You're so understanding. The words, which once would have made my heart flutter, now just felt like ash in my mouth. One day left. I was at home, packing the few things that were truly mine, when the familiar, sharp pain clenched in my stomach. A lovely parting gift from the years I'd spent drinking hard liquor to win clients for his company. I reached for the stomach medicine when my phone rang. Clara. Get over to the Royal Dynasty Hotel. Now. Benjamin's voice was low, dangerous. I walked into the private room he specified and the scene hit me like a physical blow. Our company's biggest partner, Boss Zhao, sat at the head of the table, his face like thunder. Maria was sobbing in her chair, with Benjamin protectively hovering over her, stroking her back. Boss Zhao saw me and stood up abruptly. Clara's here. You can explain this mess to her. He shot a disgusted look at Benjamin and Maria. I'm leaving. I watched, frozen, as Benjamin led a still crying Maria out of the room, leaving me to face the storm. Clara. Boss Zhao barked, his voice echoing in the silent room. I only agreed to switch liaisons because I trust you. What the hell is wrong with your new girl? She knows nothing. When I told her she wasn't cutting it, she hikes up her skirt to offer me a drink, then turns around and accuses me of harassment. Benjamin here nearly came to blows with me over it. If it weren't for all the work you put in, I'd be pulling our contract this second. I spent the next hour groveling. I apologized until my throat was raw. I drank glass after glass of fiery liquor until my stomach screamed in protest. I signed away a few more percentage points of our profit just to keep him from walking. I finally saw Boss Zhao into his car, my body trembling with exhaustion and pain. As I turned back, I saw them standing in the hotel lobby. Waiting. Benjamin strode towards me, his face a thundercloud. And without a single word, he raised his hand and slapped me across the face. Chapter 4. He sneered, a cold, ugly sound. So that's your game. I was wondering why you were suddenly so understanding, giving Maria your project. His eyes narrowed into slits. You knew Boss Zhao was a lecher. You deliberately pushed her into a fire pit. I stared at him, the sting on my cheek radiating a cold that had nothing to do with the night air. For a fleeting second, he glanced at his own palm, and I saw a flicker of regret, but he buried it instantly under a fresh wave of fury. Maria has been through hell, he seethed. She barely escaped her abusive ex, and you intentionally set her up to be harassed? Clara, how can you be so malicious? So that was it. In his mind, I was the villain, and Boss Zhao was a pervert. Maria, his precious Maria, was the blameless victim he had to protect. 7 years together, and he saw me as a monster, while he trusted her without question. A giant, icy hand squeezed my heart, and the pain in my stomach, which had been a dull ache, suddenly became a white-hot agony. It doubled me over. I clutched my abdomen, a strangled gasp escaping my lips as I vomited onto the polished hotel floor. Clara! What's wrong? For a moment, his voice was laced with genuine panic as he reached out to steady me. But in the next second, Maria let out a theatrical wail. I can't take this anymore. I was treated like that overseas, and I barely escaped back home, only to face it all again. How am I supposed to go on living? She sobbed, her shoulders shaking violently. Benjamin's hand, which had been supporting me, gently pulled away. Clara, I have to go check on Maria. I'm worried she'll do something rash. The words, call an ambulance, were trapped in my throat, choked by disbelief. I could only watch, helpless, as he ran to her side. Over his shoulder, Maria's eyes met mine, and in them, I saw it. Pure, unadulterated triumph. As I crumpled to the ground, the last thing I saw was Benjamin pulling her into a tight embrace, promising he would never, ever let anyone hurt her again. The pungent smell of disinfectant snapped me awake. I was in a hospital bed. My eyes darted to the small table beside me, where my purse sat. Inside was the plane ticket for tomorrow morning. My escape. I ripped the 4 from my arm, ignoring the nurse's protests, and left. Back home, in the oppressive silence of the apartment we were supposed to share for the rest of our lives, I found it. Tucked away in his desk drawer was a diary. I opened it. The pages were filled with his neat, dense script, a love letter to Maria, spanning years. He wrote about how he didn't blame her for being vain, for marrying a rich man and moving to America. It's my fault, he wrote. I'm not good enough to give Maria the life she deserves. Then, a date jumped out at me. March 4th, 6 years ago. An entry detailed an anonymous bank transfer of 189,300 yuan to Maria. It was every penny we had scraped together from our startup. And I knew that date. It was seared into my soul. It was the day I miscarried our 3-month-old baby after a week of forced drinking at business dinners. It was the day Benjamin held me in a sterile, back-alley clinic, his eyes red. Clara, I'm so sorry, he cried. The money is all tied up in the factory. We can't afford a proper procedure. His uselessness had forced me into a cheap, medical abortion that almost killed me from blood loss and ruined my health forever. That day, he wrote in his diary, love is a kind of debt. I don't even know if this money will be enough to help Maria. His tears weren't for me. They weren't for our lost child. They were tears of guilt for her. I wasn't even a footnote in the tragedy of his day. I flipped the pages, my hands shaking. The entry from the day he proposed to me, Maria is the only pure love in my heart. If I can't marry her, then marrying anyone is just settling. At least Clara is her sister, a pale substitute. One by one, the pages turned. Every moment I had cherished, every memory I thought was ours, was a lie. He had never loved me. Not once. I was just a consolation prize. The best he could get since he couldn't have her. By the time I looked up, tears had blurred the ink on the page. My phone rang. It was him. Clara? Are you okay? I came back and you were gone. I said nothing. He continued, oblivious. Listen, tomorrow is our wedding. I promise, after it's over, we'll go to Hawaii for our honeymoon, just the two of us. Okay? A soft hum was all I could manage before hanging up. There would be no wedding. I closed the diary. I gathered my documents, my passport, and the ticket. I called a rideshare to the airport. Sitting at the gate, I watched the black sky slowly bleed into the gray of dawn. A new day. I boarded the flight, not to London, but to New York. Further away was better. Just before powering off my phone, I watched the screen. Call after call from Benjamin flooded in, a frantic, desperate barrage. I smiled, a real smile for the first time in what felt like an eternity, and the screen went black. Chapter 5. As the plane climbed, the world I was leaving behind shrank into an insignificant map below. I closed my eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. Instead, my past rushed in to fill the void. I saw my mother, her light dimming day by day as Maria's mother, the mistress, paraded her victory through our home. Her taunts were the poison that finally drove my mother into a depression from which she never returned. Then came the years of being the unwanted stepdaughter. New wounds piled onto old scars. My mother was gone. My father was indifferent. I became a hedgehog, bristling with spikes to protect a heart that was already shattered. My stepmother withheld my allowance my father never noticed. I'd go to school starving, and at lunch, I'd pile my tray high with food from every station, ignoring the stares and whispers. Look at the poor wretch, eating like she'll never see food again. They were right. I had to eat enough to survive until the next day, because dinner was never a guarantee. Benjamin was my deskmate. He was the only one who didn't look at me with pity or disgust. Then came the day I collapsed during the morning run. I woke up in the infirmary to the scent of antiseptic and the sight of Benjamin's worried face. The school doctor frowned at my chart. "You can't keep skipping breakfast," he'd chided. "You need more nutrition. Eat an egg every morning." I nodded, feeling the familiar sting of helplessness. How could I, when I barely had money for one meal a day? The next morning, a bottle of milk and a hard-boiled egg were sitting on my desk. Benjamin wouldn't meet my eyes. "Don't get any ideas," he'd mumbled, staring out the window. "I just don't like them. It's a waste to throw them out." Perhaps that was the moment it started. For a girl starved of affection, a single act of kindness felt like a feast. That fragile, youthful crush eventually soured, curdling into the poison I was now fleeing. When did it all go wrong? His diary held the answer. Meeting Maria was the most extraordinary thing in the world. They met in the piano club. Of course. Maria, who was raised on sunshine and adoration, who never had to fight for a meal or wonder if she was loved. She was radiant. I was a shadow, introverted and aggressive, forever on the defensive. But he shouldn't have chosen me if he couldn't let her go. He shouldn't have used my heart as a placeholder for his. "Clara." I snapped out of my reverie as the plane landed. My aunt was waiting at the arrival gate, a beacon of warmth and style amidst the bustling crowd. Her business had flourished, and she looked vibrant and young, a stark contrast to the weary woman I felt I'd become. I ran to her, and she wrapped me in a fierce hug. "Oh, Clara," she murmured into my hair. "You've suffered." She didn't ask for details. She didn't need to. Her embrace was all the comfort I needed. In the car, I finally turned my phone back on. A deluge of notifications flooded the screen. 89 missed calls from Benjamin. Voicemails, dozens of them. As I stared at the screen, his name flashed again with an incoming call. This time, I answered. "Clara." "You finally answered. Where the hell are you? It's our wedding day, have you forgotten?" His voice, the same voice that had once been my salvation, now made my skin crawl. Just 1 week ago, I would have died to marry him. Now, I just wanted him to disappear from my life forever. His tone shifted, the faint concern evaporating into rage. "What are you, a child? Running away from home? I went to pick you up and you were gone. The guests are all here, my parents are furious. Get back here, now." He was giving me an ultimatum. "I'm giving you 1 hour to get to the venue, Clara. 1 hour, or you can forget about me ever marrying you. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. I'm not coming back, Benjamin. The wedding is off. Don't waste your breath. What do you mean, the wedding is off? He sputtered. What about me? Marriage is a commitment between two people, you can't just. This is completely irresponsible. I heard a crash on his end of the line, something smashed against a wall. I let him finish his tantrum, my voice calm and steady when I finally spoke. I heard you, Benjamin. At the party. I heard everything. I paused, letting the words sink in. So don't worry. I'm setting you free. You don't have to feel pressured to marry me anymore. Chapter 6. The blustering rage on the other end of the line died instantly, replaced by a desperate, guilt-ridden stammer. CLA. Clara, listen to me. It wasn't like that. I was drunk, I was just talking nonsense. Drunk? I cut him off, my voice dangerously calm. Being drunk was your excuse to run to her. It was you, finally being honest. I could see it all so clearly now, his pathetic, longing expression at the party, the way his entire being lit up the second he heard she was back. Whether you love me or not is a decision you should have made a long time ago, Benjamin. Before you asked me to marry you. No, Clara, don't misunderstand. His voice was a frantic rush. I was just drunk. I didn't mean it. I didn't know you were so upset. I can explain. I only feel sorry for Maria, that's all. Even if I had feelings for her, that was all in the past. I only love you, Clara. I swear. The words were a torrent of pathetic lies. Where are you? I'll come find you, right now. I can explain everything in person. Just please don't leave me. A cold, hard satisfaction settled in my chest. No need, I said, my voice dripping with false sweetness. Isn't this perfect? Maria's divorced. I'm gone. Now you two can finally have your happily ever after. I ended the call before he could reply, then immediately popped the SIM card from my phone. I snapped the small piece of plastic in two and dropped it into the nearest trash can. Done. My aunt's home was a sanctuary. She handed me a cup of tea and a thick file folder. Have a look at the good deeds your precious Maria has been up to overseas, she said, her voice tight with anger. Is Benjamin blind? Throwing away a diamond like you for that woman's child. I managed a small smile. It's okay, Auntie. Besides, I added, feeling a surge of power, I'm the one who threw him away. I opened the file. The story wasn't one of a poor, abused wife escaping a monster. It was a sordid tale of infidelity and greed. Maria had cheated on her husband repeatedly, even becoming a mistress to another wealthy man, trying to break up his family. When her husband found out, that's when the violence started. Her reputation in their community was in tatters. She was a social pariah. Returning home wasn't an escape, it was her only option. She had been lying to Benjamin from the very beginning. But as I closed the folder, I felt nothing. It was just information. It had nothing to do with me anymore. Benjamin and his delusions were no longer my problem. My aunt's eyes were red, filled with a guilt that broke my heart. This is all my fault, she whispered. If I had just brought you here with me sooner, you wouldn't have gone through all this. Your mother, she'll never forgive me. I pulled her into a hug. Auntie, you've done more than enough. You were barely in your 20s, trying to make it on your own. You couldn't have taken me. I remembered when I was in college, how she saved up and offered to pay for me to study abroad. I had refused, too blinded by my love for Benjamin to see the golden opportunity she was handing me. She hadn't pushed, only wished me happiness. I had chosen what I thought was love over a future. And I had paid the price. But coming here wasn't an ending. It was a new beginning. I was still young. It's never too late to start over. My aunt had already prepared a room for me, decorated exactly to my taste. I settled in, and for a few days, I just breathed. Then, I threw myself into work at my aunt's company, starting from the very bottom. My English was rusty, but the foundation was still there. After a few weeks of lunch meetings and office chatter, the fluency returned. All those years of being Benjamin's one-woman army handling marketing, sales, accounting had taught me more than I realized. My aunt was stunned at how quickly I picked things up. The relentless pace was a balm. The busy work pushed the memories of my old life further and further away. I found myself going entire days without a single thought of Benjamin. One evening, as I was heating a glass of milk before bed, a call came through on my new work phone. It was Alice, a former colleague I'd been close to. "Clara? You really left?" she asked, her voice a mix of concern and awe. "I'm glad you did, but do you know what's happening back here? Benjamin is going insane looking for you. He's a mess. No one can get through to him." Chapter 7. Alice sent me a video. I hesitated for a moment, then pressed play. It was from the wedding day. There he was, Benjamin, standing at the altar in his perfectly tailored suit, a nervous smile plastered on his face. The music played. The guests waited. But the bride never came. The video cut to frantic scenes of him, phone pressed to his ear, calling me over and over as he tore through the bridal suite, the dressing rooms, anywhere I might have been hiding. The final shot was of him, after confirming I was truly gone, slumping to the floor in a daze, his perfect suit now crumpled and pathetic. Then, Maria's voice, sickly sweet. "Benjamin, we can't just leave everyone waiting. Your parents, the guests. What if I stand in for Clara? Just to get through the ceremony?" To my shock, Benjamin shook his head, his voice rough. "No, Maria. This is between me and Clara. I don't want anyone else involved in our wedding." I shut the video off before I could see any more. "I support you, you know," Alice's voice came through the phone, fierce and loyal. "Maria knew you two were together and she still shamelessly latched onto him. And Benjamin getting ready to marry you while playing games with her? Neither of them are any good. You deserve so much better, Clara." "It's okay," I told her, my own voice surprisingly steady. "We weren't legally married. There's still time to fix everything. He's still asking around the office for your new address," she warned. A knot of anxiety tightened in my chest. "You didn't tell him, did you?" I asked, only breathing again when she confirmed she hadn't. "We said our goodbyes, two women promising to cheer each other on from across the world. But somehow, he still found me." I was leaving work a few weeks later when a figure stepped out from the shadows of the building, blocking my path. "Clara. I finally found you." It was Benjamin. He grabbed my hand, his face alight with the crazed joy of a man who found something he thought was lost forever. I was stunned by his appearance. The Benjamin I knew was meticulous, his suits always pressed, his face always clean-shaven. This man was a ghost of him, haggard, with a scruffy beard and dark circles under his eyes. "Clara, come back with me," he pleaded, his grip tightening on my wrist. "We'll have another wedding. I won't even be mad about you running away. I'll handle my parents. Just pack your things and come home." He said it all so matter-of-factly, as if he were granting me a great favor. I was so shocked I couldn't even speak. He took my silence as agreement. A relieved, arrogant smile touched his lips. "Maria was right. You were just throwing a tantrum, waiting for me to come and coax you back. Well, I'm here now. So let's go." A wave of revulsion washed over me. I ripped my hand from his grasp. "You're delusional, Benjamin. We are over. I want you to stop clinging to me." He stared at me, disbelief warring with anger in his eyes. "You're lying. 7 years, Clara. You think you can just throw away 7 years?" He took a step closer, his voice dropping to a desperate rasp. "What did our 7 years mean to you? Nothing? You still love me, I know you do. You're just angry. That's all this is." The sheer, shameless audacity of it stole my breath. Benjamin, I said, my voice as cold and sharp as glass. I will say this one last time. I don't love you. I knew we were over the second you stood up at our engagement party and said your biggest regret was not marrying Maria. His face paled. Do you remember the day I had the miscarriage? I pressed on, each word a nail in his coffin. You cried. You told me how guilty you felt. I actually thought you cared. I thought your tears were for me, for our baby. I let out a harsh, humorless laugh. But you were crying because you'd just sent every last cent we had to her. How dare you stand here and talk to me about love? Panic flared in his eyes. You read my diary? He stammered, his voice trembling. Clara, none of that was real. It was just me writing things down. It didn't mean anything. I just looked at him, remembering the feel of those pages under my fingertips, the way his neat, careful handwriting had detailed every single one of his betrayals. And I smiled. Chapter 8. Almost every page, I said, my voice devoid of all emotion, began with 2 words, to Maria. And me? I was just a footnote. Clara is capable, you wrote. Suitable for marriage. And my personal favorite, Clara looks a bit like you. If I can't have you in this life, I'm willing to marry her, who resembles you. I looked him dead in the eye. I was just your substitute, Benjamin. That isn't love. Everything you said when you were drunk was the truth, I continued, pressing my advantage as he paled. Everything you wrote in that diary was your pathetic, undying love for her. You love her so much? Fine. I'm setting you free. So why are you here, haunting me? I don't understand it, and frankly, I don't care to. Just leave me alone. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing on the sidewalk like a ghost. Later that night, as if on cue, a message from Maria lit up my phone. Do you really think you can win him back with this little runaway bride stunt? My mother stole your mother's husband. And I can damn well take your man. I stared at the glaring words, and all I felt was a profound sense of pity. How sad. Your work has been impressive, my aunt said, sliding a cup of hot tea onto my desk. You landed that new project in just a few weeks. Keep it up. But don't think I'll give you any special treatment. I smiled, taking a sip. I wouldn't want any. I turned on my desk lamp, ready to dive into the project brief. You know, my aunt said, leaning against the doorframe, you've been in a dark mood lately. You barely talk, and you don't have many friends here yet. How about I take you somewhere fun? I didn't expect somewhere fun to be the biggest, loudest nightclub in the city. The pulsing rhythm of the music was a shock to my system, but strangely, it made me feel alive. A few men tried to buy me drinks, but I waved them all away. My aunt disappeared onto the dance floor with her boyfriend, leaving me at the bar, nursing a cocktail. That's not the right drink for a broken heart, a low, magnetic voice said in Mandarin next to me. Too strong. You'll regret it tomorrow. I turned. David? It was David, my college senior. Handsome, brilliant, and ambitious. He'd offered me a job right after graduation, but I'd turned him down flat to help Benjamin start his company. David went on to become our biggest competitor. What, no Benjamin? He asked, a knowing glint in his eye. I tossed back the rest of my drink in one go, the liquor burning a trail down my throat. Broke up. Surprise flickered across his face. The alcohol hit me faster than I expected, and when I stood up, the room tilted. David was instantly by my side, his hand a steady presence on my arm, guiding me toward the exit. We'd barely made it outside when a figure lunged out of the darkness. Get your hands off her. Benjamin snarled, knocking David's hand away. He grabbed my arm, his grip bruising. Clara, you're coming with me. David stepped between us, pushing him back. She said she's done with you, Benjamin. Back off. Benjamin's face was a mask of pain as he looked at me. Annoyed, exhausted, and wanting nothing more than for this to be over, I did the only thing I could think of. I looped my arm through David's. "Take me home, please," I said, loud enough for Benjamin to hear. But he didn't give up. He started waiting for me outside my office every single day. A fresh bouquet of flowers in hand. He'd follow me home like a lost puppy. The entire company was gossiping about my clingy ex-fiancé. The climax came a week later. I had just finished a meeting when Maria cornered me in the hallway. "Have you no shame?" she hissed, her face contorted with rage. "This was your plan all along, wasn't it? The runaway bride, playing hard to get, all just a game to make him obsessed with you." I just stared at her. She was the one who abandoned him. I was the one who walked away to give them their chance. What fresh hell was this? Chapter 9. "Whatever is going on between you and Benjamin," I said, my voice dangerously low, "you will resolve it yourselves. If you continue to harass me at my place of work, I will call security." Maria's voice rose to a hysterical shriek. "How can you be so self-righteous? You're nothing but a home wrecker." "Me? A home wrecker?" The audacity was almost comical. It was the peak of the after-work rush, and her shouting had drawn a crowd of my colleagues, all staring with wide eyes. "Listen to you," I said, my voice cutting through her hysterics like a knife. "A thief crying thief. Your mother was a mistress who gave birth to you, another mistress in training. You stole my fiancé, and I didn't say a word. Why? Because Benjamin is trash, and I was happy to let you take him off my hands. I generously stepped aside for you, and now that you can't even keep a man like that, you come crying to me?" Her face contorted with rage. She lunged, her hand raised to slap me, but I was faster. I caught her wrist in a vice grip and, with a satisfying crack, slapped her across the face. Maria crumpled to the ground, sobbing. And right on cue, Benjamin rushed to her side, cradling her as if she were a wounded bird. "Clara," he yelled, looking at me with reproach. "Even if Maria was wrong, you shouldn't have hit her." I was done arguing. I was done explaining. I reached into my bag, pulled out the thick file my aunt had given me, and threw it at his feet. "Read it," I said. The file contained everything. The sordid details of Maria's life abroad. The police reports. And, as a final flourish, a video Boss Zhao had sent me of Maria, drunk and practically throwing herself at him at another business function. Benjamin's hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. The color drained from his face. He looked at the weeping woman in his arms, his voice a hollow whisper. "Maria, is any of this true?" "No. Benjamin, listen to me, it's not what it looks like," she pleaded, clutching his arm. He shook her off, his eyes wide with horror and disgust. "You told me you were a victim. You told me you had nowhere to go. You lied to me." He staggered to his feet and turned to me, his hands outstretched. "Clara. I'm so sorry. It was all my fault. Please." Just then, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. "David. My knight in shining armor." "Get in," he said, his voice calm and steady. I didn't hesitate. I slipped into the passenger seat, closed the door, and rolled up the window, shutting out the sound of Benjamin's desperate cries. In the rearview mirror, I saw him run after the car for a few blocks, a pathetic, frantic figure, before we left him behind in a cloud of exhaust. David clicked his tongue. "Affection that comes too late," he murmured, "is worth less than dirt." After that day, Benjamin only tried to see me one last time. He stood for hours on the street below my apartment, just staring up at my window. "He's certainly infatuated now," my aunt commented, peering through the curtains. "A little late for that, isn't it?" I remembered a time when he used to do that. Back in high school, after Maria had falsely accused me of stealing and my father had beaten me black and blue. Benjamin had skipped class to take me to a doctor. He held me and said, "Clara, you have to fight back. If they hit you again, you tell me." He would wait downstairs after walking me home, just to make sure I was safe. But that Benjamin was long gone. He'd been replaced by the man who told me, for Maria's sake, she's your sister. She was just a child. Forgive her. He had forgiven her on my behalf, erasing my pain to soothe hers. His heart had shifted long before I ever realized it. I drew the curtains and didn't look back. My life moved on. Because of a shared project, I started seeing more of David. He invited me to dinner. He took me to concerts, remembering my favorite composers. He filled all the empty spaces that Benjamin had been too busy to occupy. At first, I accepted his invitations to make a point to Benjamin. But soon, I found myself genuinely enjoying his company. A new, gentle feeling began to bloom in the barren landscape of my heart. I was cautious, but I was open to it. The end of the year came. The project was a massive success. On top of my salary, my aunt gave me a bonus so large it made my head spin. News from my old life trickled in. Benjamin's company, without my hand to guide it, was failing. The performance plummeted. The shareholders united and kicked him off the board of directors. And Maria? Unable to cling to a sinking ship, she set her sights on another married man. This time, the wife didn't just file for divorce. She hired someone to throw acid in Maria's face. She survived, but her beauty was gone, and her mind, they said, had snapped. As for me? My aunt's company was thriving. And through my own hard work and talent, I was rising right along with it.